July 2018, Southwark Crown Court in London. Something unusual is happening. A judge sits at the bench reading out a prison sentence. 10.5 years. But look at the defendant's box. 4 people are sitting there, waiting to hear their punishment. There should be 5 people. 1 chair sits completely empty. The missing man is Abul Kalam Mohammed Rezaul Karim, known as AKM. Just yesterday, he was supposed to hand over his passport to the authorities like everyone else. Today, he should be sitting in that empty chair, hearing his fate. Instead, he's thousands of miles away, carrying a passport with someone else's name on it. The prosecutor stands up and lists the crimes. Conspiracy to defraud. The numbers are shocking. 79 companies that never existed. 900 fake visa applications. £13 million in losses that could have happened if authorities hadn't stopped them. But here's the most interesting part. While the judge is reading his sentence, AKM is already planning something so bold that you won't believe it's real. But it is. Let's go back 3 years to where this story really begins. East London, 2015. Immigration lawyers charge around £3,000 for legitimate work visas. A 42-year-old man who calls himself a law student is offering something different. Faster results, guaranteed success, and prices that seem impossible. Because they are impossible. Victoria Docks isn't a fancy neighbourhood. You won't find expensive law firms there, but that's exactly why AKM chose this location. In an area filled with immigrants trying to build new lives in Britain, nobody questions a small office with a simple sign outside. Immigration Consulting Services. Everything looks professional. Website, business cards, client testimonials that might be completely made up. It all looks real enough to convince desperate people. His offer is straightforward. £700 for a work visa. 3 weeks processing time. For people who've been quoted £3,000 elsewhere, this sounds like a miracle. For people who've been rejected before, this sounds like hope. And hope is exactly what makes people hand over their money without asking too many questions. The first customer walks in during autumn 2015. By Christmas, 20 people have used his services. By the next summer, they're arriving in groups. But AKM isn't doing this alone. You can't build something this big without help, and the person he trusts most is family. His brother-in-law, Karim, is 34 years old. He's good with paperwork. The kind of person who can make a company look real on paper, even when it doesn't exist at all. Then there's Kazi Borkachula, 39 years old, a migration consultant. He knows exactly what documents immigration officers look for, and he knows exactly how to create fake versions. Jalpa Trivedi is 41 and handles the accounting. She doesn't just count money, she makes fake companies look legitimate enough to fool tax authorities. Mohammed Tamaj Uddin is 47 and brings something valuable to the group. He used to be a barrister, an actual lawyer. When you need documents that look legal, having someone with law credentials is incredibly useful. Together, these 5 people create something that looks like a real business empire. 79 companies. Each one has a registered address. Each one has business bank accounts. Each one can issue employment contracts and payslips. But none of them actually do any real business. They exist for only one reason: to create paper trails that convince UK immigration authorities that foreign workers have genuine job offers waiting for them. The visa applications flow through the system. Visas get approved. Money comes in. £700 per visa at minimum, sometimes more when clients are really desperate. Let's do the math. 900 applications at £700 each. That's over £630,000 just from visa fees. But that's not where the real money comes from. Someone in the group has a brilliant idea. If they can fake employment documents for visas, why stop there? Why not fake employment for something even more profitable? Tax refunds. The system is clever. Create a fake company. Create fake employees who don't exist. File tax documents showing you paid wages to these phantom workers. Then, file for tax refunds on behalf of these made-up employees. Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, known as HMRC, processes thousands of refund claims every single week. Most claims are legitimate, some aren't. The system works on trust and random checks. It's not designed to catch organised fraud unless someone gets too greedy. By 2017, the operation has filed hundreds of fake tax claims. HMRC has already paid out £172,000 in refunds. But according to investigators who calculate the numbers later, if the scheme had continued without being caught, total losses could have reached £13 million. That's not a mistake. 13 million. The genius of this scheme is in how it's organised. No single refund is big enough to trigger automatic investigation. A few hundred here, 1,000 there, spread across dozens of fake companies and hundreds of fake employees. It just looks like normal business activity. But patterns always exist, and patterns eventually get noticed. Somewhere in an HMRC office, an analyst is reviewing spreadsheets. Something feels wrong. 15 companies all using the same registered address. Payslips that look identical except for the names. Tax filings submitted on the same day every month, like clockwork. When you steal £700, it's just a crime. When you steal £13 million, it becomes a pattern. And patterns can be tracked. The investigation begins quietly. No dramatic police raids, no press announcements. Just analysts comparing databases and following paper trails. They discover that dozens of companies share more than just addresses. They search bank accounts. They share IP addresses for online filings. They even use the same printers for documents. Modern printers leave invisible marks on every page they print. A forensic signature. Every payslip, every tax form, every employment contract came from the same few devices. The companies don't answer phone calls. Site visits reveal empty offices or confused residents who've never heard of the businesses supposedly registered at their homes. By early 2018, HMRC has enough evidence to bring in law enforcement. The case goes to serious fraud investigators. They build their case carefully. Bank records, immigration files, interviews with visa applicants who thought they were getting real jobs. Then comes the moment the operation has been fearing. Early morning raids at multiple locations at the same time. Computers seized, documents packed into boxes, bank accounts frozen. All 5 defendants get arrested. All 5 get charged with conspiracy to defraud. And all 5 are told the same thing. Hand over your passports. You're not leaving the country while we prepare for trial. They comply. Every passport gets surrendered to authorities. They're released on bail with strict conditions. Regular check-ins with police. No international travel, mandatory court appearances. The trial date gets set. The prosecution starts organising evidence. The defendants start preparing their defence. Except 3 of them aren't preparing a defence. They're preparing an escape. Here's the irony. The same skills that built the visa fraud scheme can build an escape route. If you can fake employment documents good enough to fool immigration authorities, you can fake identity documents good enough to leave the country. The network that created 79 phantom companies can create 1 phantom person. AKM and 2 of his co-defendants, the ones who knew how to create convincing paperwork, start working on exit strategies. British authorities have their real passports, but the black market has blank ones. The same underground networks that supplied fake documents for clients can supply fake documents for themselves. Authorities discover later that all 3 obtained fraudulent passports. Different names, different photos that look just similar enough to pass a quick inspection. Documents that could get them through airport security and onto international flights. The trial moves forward through spring 2018. Evidence gets presented. Witnesses give testimony. The scale of the fraud becomes clear. Hundreds of fake documents, thousands of fraudulent transactions, millions in losses and potential losses. The verdict comes in stages. First, the conspiracy charges, then the fraud charges. Guilty on all counts for all 5 defendants. Sentencing is scheduled for July. On sentencing day, 4 people show up. AKM doesn't. Neither do his 2 co-conspirators with fake passports. They've disappeared. The judge pronounces sentences anyway. 10.5 years for AKM, sentences for the others who fled. Sentences for the 2 who stayed. But you can't imprison someone who isn't there. July 2018, Heathrow Airport. Somewhere in the busy departure terminals, a person who is not named AKM Rezaul Karim is checking in for an international flight. The passport shows a different name. The photo looks close enough to pass a quick glance. This is the gamble. Airport security does facial recognition casually, not carefully. The name on the passport isn't flagged in any databases yet. The border guard is processing hundreds of travelers today and probably won't look too closely at passenger number 247. The line moves forward. Documents get checked. Boarding passes get printed. Now comes passport control. This is the critical moment. Hand over the document. Make eye contact with the guard. Don't look nervous. But don't look too confident either. Just look like one more tired traveller in a sea of tired travellers. The guard looks at the passport, looks at the face, looks at the computer screen. The seconds feel like hours. Then the words come. Have a good flight. Just like that, a person convicted of defrauding the British government of millions walks through security and onto a plane. Somewhere over European airspace, flying towards South Asia, that person probably breathes normally for the first time in weeks. In London, the legal system has convicted and sentenced him. But in practical terms, justice has just boarded an international flight and left British territory. The question is, what does someone do after escaping justice? Hide? Disappear into anonymity? Change their appearance and live quietly? Not if you're AKM. He's about to do something so bold that investigators will later wonder if it was arrogance, delusion, or actually a stroke of political genius. He's going to run for Parliament. Pirojpur district, southwestern Bangladesh. Something impossible is happening. A political campaign is taking shape in a region where most people have never heard of Southwark Crown Court or British extradition treaties. Posters appear around the district. Bright colours, bold promises. A familiar face smiling down from walls and lampposts. Social media accounts come alive. Facebook, Twitter, local messaging groups, professional graphics, polished messaging. The familiar face starts showing up at community events, shaking hands, making speeches about local issues. The candidate is running for Parliament under the Bangladesh Nationalist Party banner. It's a major party, a legitimate political force. His platform is carefully designed. Fighting corruption, that's the main promise. Improving local infrastructure, standing up for ordinary people against powerful interests. The irony is almost unbelievable. A man who just fled a conviction for running a multi-million-pound fraud scheme is presenting himself as an anti-corruption fighter. A person who couldn't face justice in London is asking Bangladeshi voters to trust him with their representation in Parliament. And here's the shocking part. It's actually working. At least at first. The campaign looks professional. The messaging connects with people in a region where many families have members working abroad or trying to immigrate. His background in immigration consulting actually plays as a positive credential rather than a warning sign. Nobody in Pirojpur is checking British court records. Nobody's searching for AKM Rezaul Karim fraud conviction. The candidate is presenting himself as a successful businessman who made it in London and came home to serve his community. The campaign builds momentum. Rallies are organised. Promises are made. The story is compelling. Local son returns from abroad to fight for his people. Campaign workers hand out flyers. Volunteers knock on doors. Social media posts get thousands of likes and shares. The candidate appears in photographs with local leaders, religious figures, and community elders. And for a few weeks, it actually looks like he might win. But there's a problem with running for public office in the social media age. Your past is never as far away as you think it is. Information travels across borders instantly. Borders don't contain truth anymore. The question isn't whether his past will catch up with him. The question is when. Somebody does their homework. Maybe it's an opposition researcher digging into the candidate's background. Maybe it's a journalist who noticed something strange about the timeline. Maybe it's someone who knew about the British conviction and wondered how he could be campaigning when he should be in prison. However it happens, the truth comes out. The British conviction becomes public knowledge in Bangladesh. Someone finds the court records. Someone takes screenshots. Someone shares them. And once information hits social media in Bangladesh, it spreads like wildfire. Court documents get shared on Facebook groups. WhatsApp messages ping from phone to phone across the country. News outlets pick up the story. Parliamentary candidate wanted for fraud in UK makes headlines that people can't ignore. The details are devastating. Not just the conviction, not just the sentence, but the scale of it. 79 fake companies, 900 fraudulent visa applications, £13 million in potential losses. And the fact that he fled justice, that he's technically a fugitive, that while presenting himself as honest and trustworthy, he's actively avoiding a prison sentence for fraud. The contrast is brutal. Campaign posters showing him promising to fight corruption. Court documents showing him convicted of systematic fraud. The campaign tries damage control. They try to spin it as political persecution, as a legal misunderstanding. They claim the charges are false, that he's innocent, that this is all a conspiracy against him. But court records are public documents. The evidence is clear and documented. The conviction is real and final. Support disappears overnight. Voters who believed in him feel betrayed and foolish. Campaign workers quit their positions. Donors vanish. Political allies distance themselves as fast as possible. The anti-corruption candidate exposed as convicted fraudster becomes a national scandal in Bangladesh. Opposition parties use it for political advantage. Social media explodes with mockery and outrage. Campaign rallies that drew hundreds now draw only handfuls of people. The posters start coming down from walls. The social media accounts go quiet. First they're defensive, then silent completely. News coverage shifts from his campaign promises to his criminal past. Interviews with immigration experts, analysis of how someone convicted in the UK could even run for parliament in Bangladesh. And then, for the second time in a year, AKM vanishes. No concession speech, no press conference, no statement to the media. Just gone. One day he's still trying to save the campaign. The next day he's nowhere to be found. Campaign headquarters is locked and empty. Phone numbers are disconnected. The pattern is familiar by now. When the walls close in, disappear. When your current identity becomes toxic, shed it and move on. It worked in London. Walk away from court obligations, board a plane with a fake passport, restart somewhere else. Why not try it again? But this time, there's nowhere obvious to run. The UK wants him for jumping bail. Bangladesh now knows he's a convicted fraudster. His face has been all over the news. Where does someone go when they've burned through identities in multiple countries? The answer, like everything else in AKM's story, is unknown. He vanishes as completely as he appeared. Campaign posters weather and fade in the rain. Social media posts remain online as digital evidence of what almost was. And somewhere, a person who tried to run from justice twice has disappeared a second time. The question that haunts investigators is simple. Is he hiding permanently, or is he already working on his next reinvention? Planning his next scheme? One thing is absolutely certain. Wherever he is, he's not in a British prison serving his sentence. And he's not in the Bangladesh parliament representing the people he promised to serve. He's just gone. Again. Interpol issues international notices. UK authorities formally request extradition if he's found in any country with relevant treaties. Bangladeshi law enforcement is notified and given his details. But finding someone who's already successfully disappeared twice isn't easy. Especially someone who knows exactly how to create fake identities. He's not using his real name anymore. That's certain. The passport he used to flee the UK is probably long destroyed, replaced by something else from the same underground network that supplies such documents. He could be anywhere. South Asia, the Middle East. Anywhere with large Bangladeshi diaspora communities where one more person with a believable backstory can blend in and disappear. The investigation remains open. The warrant remains active. The sentence remains on the books, waiting to be served. But as of now, the location of Abul Kalam Muhammad Rezaul Karim is completely unknown.